Hello, everyone, and welcome. There's a buzz in the air today, that excitable tension that comes when really cool things are happening. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Bryn. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Lucid, and I'm joined today by one of our wonderful product managers. Before I have him introduce himself, I want to do a quick vibe check to ensure that we're all in the right breakout. If you're here to learn about building the right product faster with Lucid and airfocus, you're definitely in the right spot. Now I'll turn it over to him so he can introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I'm one of the product managers here at Lucid that is working on the things that we are building to help agility teams to collaborate, plan, and execute more effectively. I'm super excited to be here today with Bryn.
Spencer and I are excited to talk with you all today about a topic that's central to all of our work: how you take your product vision and turn it into actionable strategies and concrete plans. We'll discuss not only how you can build products faster, but most importantly, be confident that we're building the right product. We do that with Lucid and airfocus. airfocus is the latest addition to Lucid and is a simple yet powerful product management platform that unites ever-evolving teams around a single source of truth so that they can build with confidence. Together, these platforms can help you create a seamless workflow that aligns your high-level product strategy directly with your team's execution. By connecting OKRs, roadmaps, and team planning, think sprint planning, capacity planning, product backlog refinement, and more, you can empower your teams to move with speed and confidence. Before we get started, a few reminders. This session is being recorded. You can expect an email soon with the recordings of today's keynote and all 3 breakout sessions from lately at Lucid. We have an amazing team behind the scenes helping us answer your questions. Please use the Q&A for asking questions and the chat for sharing your thoughts and excitement. And with that, we'll get started. Spencer, you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Great. So many teams start by translating big picture vision into epics, but customers tell us things sometimes get lost in translation, and what's being built drifts away from strategy. How do we ensure teams work on the right things, the things that are the most impactful for their customers and the business?
Fantastic question, Bryn. We really try to anchor our product planning on company strategy and OKRs, and then we ground our work in evidence and the voice of customer insights. Here's a quick overview of what that process can look like using airfocus. For those of you who are new to airfocus, it is your central hub for documenting your strategy and OKRs. In airfocus, you can embed the strategy documents you've designed and aligned on in Lucid right here in your objectives workspace. We can see that view, and so that the same information is available in one spot for all of the company to see. As we go over here, we can actually view each of the company's objectives, and we can track those along with the key results of those objectives. We can drill down to see not only our company objectives, but our department level objectives, as well as the key results in these different objectives along the whole entire process from each initiative up to the company OKR. We can additionally see other metrics, such as the time period in which these OKRs are set, the confidence that we currently have, as well as the progress of those OKRs rolled up all the way to the top. This approach gives everyone, from leadership down to each individual team member, a clear view of the impact you are driving for and the strategic why behind our work.
Incredible. It's so great to see a single source of truth that ensures our strategy is clear for everyone during the product development process.
Exactly. And this is especially helpful because our company strategy does not live in a silo. In airfocus, our strategy is centralized along with the voice of our customer feedback and research, and is brought right alongside where you plan your initiatives and roadmaps. Typically, we begin any product initiative by searching and reviewing existing feedback in airfocus that was added through integrations, directly from internal or external users through airfocus forms or manual upload. This all gets brought into this one product feedback workspace, and I can use search to find all the different feedback items that might be related to what we're looking into as we're developing different initiatives. Additionally, I can click into these and I can see more information that we may have added as part of our feedback gathering process. You're almost never starting from scratch, as there is a wealth of information that your teams have collected previously.
We hear that all the time from customers. They had tons of information, but it wasn't being processed. For example, when Appify implemented these tools, they had a 99% reduction in unprocessed insights, saying before airfocus, we had 5,000 unprocessed insights. Now we have at most 20.
That's an excellent result, and it really speaks to the power of using airfocus to help with your product discovery and development. After all, if we aren't actually looking at the insights from our customers, we're not going to be able to develop the right products and drive forward that customer and business value. And so after some of this initial review of that feedback, we start to develop questions and hypotheses that may lead to additional research. New findings, like those from customer interviews, can easily get added to your feedback workspace. And this is where airfocus's Insights app becomes really powerful. We can start to review each of these different pieces of feedback and actually tie different parts of that feedback using the Insights app to other initiatives that we have within our organization and on our roadmap. For example, AI will surface relevant information and initiatives that might exist within our different workspaces, but I can even go ahead and search for a specific insight opportunity that I want to link this to. Once I select this insight will be rolled up into that one initiative. And from here, I can even see all the different insights that might be rolling into this one initiative so that we can, as a product team, can make sure we have all the context we need as we are developing. Now, once I've actually highlighted this excerpt, we can keep that there so we continue to refine the project plan with all the context we need.
That's awesome. So not only are the insights from customers being used to inform our strategy, they're being sorted and assigned to the actual items in airfocus so that they're always viewed in the correct context.
Exactly. It's one of the best ways to translate insight into customer value. And as a product manager, as I've started to use airfocus, this has been extremely valuable to me to make sure that my team is aligned across the board on what we're hearing from customers. And that's really driving our brainstorming sessions and what we actually determine to build. So once we actually have a good feel for the key problem we're looking to solve, we bring that research onto the Lucid canvas. And that's where this connection between Lucid and airfocus becomes super powerful. Here's what a board in Lucid Spark may actually look like. After we've reviewed some of that strategic and research context that we saw in airfocus, we begin to brainstorm as product teams how we can actually provide the value our customers need while furthering some of that company strategy and OKRs. We can use Lucid's AI to take many of these ideas we've brainstormed, create summaries, we can create sorting and organization, making it way easier to understand from our brainstorming how we can actually accomplish these different tasks and different initiatives. Using different features like our dot voting and even our visual activities, teams can easily go ahead and rank different items based off of impact and effort, providing alignment across the entire team on what we feel is the most important to do. Once we view those results, we can actually bring them to Lucid's canvas, allowing us to even take these items once we've aligned on them and bring them straight into airfocus. Lucid's bi-directional syncing integration with airfocus makes this super easy to do. All I do is select these different items, go to convert to cart, select airfocus items, and I can choose where within airfocus I want to push these different initiatives to. In this case, I want to select AI planning roadmap. I can go ahead and set other fields if I would like and click create. And Lucid will take care of all of the back and forth of information transfer and create these initiatives within airfocus in that specified objectives and insights workspace. Now, once I've actually gone ahead and done that, this is essentially super powerful because the same information is in airfocus, in Lucid, in every place that our teams are actually reviewing this work. Now, once this has been created, we can go into airfocus and continue to refine these different ideas. For example, on my AI planning roadmap, I can actually view that I can add different Figma links or different product requirement documents. So all the information is in one spot for this initiative. For example, airfocus's prioritization app is super powerful at allowing us to create custom formulas that help us to rank the most important initiatives towards the top, such as user impact and development effort. So our teams can make sure that we're working on the right features and avoiding the feature factory trap.
What do you mean by feature factory trap?
Yeah, great question. I love this term because it really helps put everything into perspective. A feature factory trap is when teams start shipping feature after feature without a clear understanding of the why. Roadmaps become a long list of outputs instead of focusing on the customer outcomes. And those are really the most important things. Even our best efforts at times can start to feel reactive instead of strategic. And we're all busy, but we want to make sure we're focusing on moving the needle on what truly matters.
Right. So escaping the trap means that we're confident that we're building the right things because our work is grounded in those user insights. So how do we make sure our roadmap communicates that confidence?
When we're building a roadmap, the goal is to communicate our vision and focus on outcomes for our customers, and by extension, our business. Within AirFocus, our roadmap not only becomes a dynamic reflection of our strategy, but it's not just a static list of features. Because our work is already linked to OKRs, we can build these roadmaps that show the customer value that we are planning to deliver. Like we looked at earlier, I can select one of these initiatives and I could quickly see how this is actually contributing to other key results that we may have within our organization. And we recognize that not one size fits all, which is key. we can use airfocus to create and share tailored views of our roadmap for any audience, from our developer team to our different stakeholders, for a fraction of the effort and time. And this becomes super, super powerful. As a team, sometimes it can be helpful to view it in a table format. Or we may want to view a timeline view where we can see the timing of these different initiatives, the dependencies between them, and see them all in one spot. But we recognize that for some stakeholders, this might be too much detail and they need a more simplified version of this view. Airfocus makes it easy to create that. In just a few clicks, we can go to Views and click Create New View, and we can select from these different view types, such as table, board, timeline, and whatever you may want to bring in. Additionally, you have the power to even bring in other sources of truth, such as from Lucid or Google Docs, and all these many other integrations that we have. Let's say I want to move forward with creating a board. I can click Continue, name this board. I have the flexibility to choose how I actually want this to be configured. I'm going to select Set Status Category to provide a really simple view of these different items and their status in the process of development. Additionally, I can choose if I want to filter to specific sets of items. I can choose a lot of different other things, including what items and fields may actually show. Once I'm ready, I can go ahead and create this view. And on the next screen, we can see that immediately pop up. What's great is it's not just here in airfocus. We have the flexibility to share this using share views. So I can create a share link. I can name it. I can choose what information we may want to include, or even export this to PDF and PNGs based off of your business needs. And once roadmaps have been shared and aligned on, we can actually sync our roadmap with Jira or Azure DevOps using our bi-directional integrations between airfocus and those systems of record. So all of our sources of record stay accurate.
So with airfocus, we have our strategy documented and we've aligned on the what, the customer value we plan to deliver. Now let's look at the how. We've heard from customers that strategy can sometimes be disconnected from the team's ability to deliver on it. How does Lucid help take those high-level strategic plans and distill them into actionable work for our teams to execute?
Yeah, great question, Bryn. And it's a natural next step to wonder that, right? We have these actual plans and the things that we're hoping to do. Well, how do we go ahead and break it down further and execute on it? Okay, now that we've actually identified those epics for the teams to work on, Lucid can help increase the team and program's confidence in delivering this planned work throughout the quarter. This is the natural next step from what Bryn just went over. As we have some of these objectives and initial initiatives we've aligned on, we can actually go ahead and start breaking these down within Lucid. And that's where Lucid's Canvas and airfocus really start to mesh together and work well. airfocus becomes this wonderful product source of truth that we use for more structured data, and Lucid becomes the more flexible canvas that we use during that planning process. For example, if our teams have high-level estimates, such as developer sprints or full-time employee weeks, we can actually visualize those in a timeline in Lucid. And you can see here, I've created this timeline with my epics from my system of record. We have estimates that we put as a team, and we can start to use these powerful capacity planning features to see where we might be under capacity, such as in these first few sprints of this quarter. But we can also quickly get a glance at where we might be over capacity for a team. Lucid makes it powerful to actually embed different things like milestones or other events that may be happening in the actual process of this development to make it clear that we're considering everything as part of this development process. Additionally, not only can we see like the capacity of the teams, Lucid's dependency mapping features make it really easy for us to see dependencies across different teams. So if I go ahead and click Show All, we can quickly see where our teams may have different capacity and different dependencies, which can help inform our planning process to be more accurate. Now, if we want to create an alternative plan to show our leadership, we can do that as well. We can go ahead up here to enhance planning features and go ahead and create a new scenario. Once that's done, we have two different versions of the plan on the canvas, and making a change in one will not reflect in the other. And this becomes super powerful because we can consider these different scenarios, and then once we're aligned, we can push that chosen plan back to our system of record and begin to break down that work further.
So what you're saying is teams can leverage core Lucid capabilities like dynamic tables and timelines, as well as some enhanced planning capabilities to visually organize backlogs, plan sprints, and map out dependencies in a flexible collaborative space. Spencer, I know we have those integrations with Jira and Azure DevOps and airfocus like we've been talking about. How does integrating those systems of record with Lucid really help teams plan and execute more efficiently?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really, these integrations have changed the way that I work as a product manager. So I get a little excited about this as we start to talk through it. Once we've actually planned and aligned on what are these top level epics or initiatives we might want to build out, my team can go in and actually use Lucid to kind of be in this draft state of where we actually need to plan out what items might be required to accomplish an overarching epic or initiative. So we can see here that we brought our Jira epics, or you could do this with Azure DevOps or other work item types. You can bring those onto the canvas, and then my team can use Lucid cards, for example, and drag these out onto the canvas and plan out items that may not exist within these systems of record. This gives us the flexibility to actually create these different items before actually going and creating them within Jira and ADO. We want to make sure that we're aligned. And so once we feel good about the plan, we can select all these Lucid cards. We can go to convert to card and select Jira issue or whatever item type that you want to create. And Lucid makes it really easy to convert those in a few steps by taking the summary, the description, and allowing us to choose different fields that we might feel to be relevant in this planning process. On the next step, I can even convert these lines to show dependencies and relationships between these different items, which becomes super powerful. The time savings here is key.
This is amazing. And I do want to shift gears just a bit because you hit on time savings. Time savings are the direct result of a well-oiled system. They're not just about saving hours. They're about gaining a powerful competitive advantage by boosting team efficiency and confidence in your company strategy. Even more so when we can scale that across multiple teams at our organization. Through the Agility Accelerator, blueprints serve as the foundation for repeatable success. They eliminate that time spent on redundant tasks like building out sprint or PI planning boards or manually adding that data from your system of record.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I've actually brought up one of those blueprints so we can look at that right here and show everyone in the audience. True efficiency really isn't just about moving faster, it's about moving with confidence. And that's where the Agility Accelerator's ability to collect both quantitative and qualitative insights is crucial. We've looked at capacity planning and scenario planning and how those provide a look at that quantitative demand or data around demand and delivery, what work needs to be done, and the team's ability to deliver it. But what we also have here is the ability to actually roll out these blueprints for different sprint and agility ceremonies, such as sprint retrospectives or planning or things like that. And Lucid's powerful, functionality with this insights feature allows us to gather information from the individual teams and roll that up in one view. For example, we can provide a blueprint that has a question like, how are you feeling about your workload? And we can roll this out to all of our development teams across the organization. We can additionally even collect qualitative insights, such as different things that management should know as part of this retrospective, activity that we do. Now, what's great is Lucid makes it really easy to see these all in one spot. Now, once we have these insights on the individual board, we can actually see this in a dashboard view, and this becomes super powerful. Lucid's AI summarizes a lot of this information across these many teams, giving you a quick view at this different information, such as our team confidence, other things we might have set up using blueprints and insights. If I want to learn more, I can click on details and view additional information on each of these different themes that we have, and the individual things from each of the teams that they're sharing. This makes it super powerful because we have that data both on the quantitative and qualitative side, and it allows teams to proactively address potential issues, leading to stronger alignment and the ability to build with confidence, knowing that we can actually deliver on the promises we've made.
All of this is so cool. And these enhanced planning capabilities look super exciting. And I feel like they can really change the game as we're planning out work to deliver on OKRs, as well as when it comes to the actual execution. Can we talk about how capacity planning and scenario planning take all of this to the next level?
We can, because it's one of my favorite features, and I love talking about this. As we actually look at capacity planning and scenario planning, this has changed the game for how we do product at Lucid, and I know it's starting to change, the way that many of our customers do this planning as well. We talked about capacity planning and timelines, which can be very helpful at that kind of higher level multi-team planning and those activities. But once we've actually broken those tasks out and actually synced them to Jira or ADO, like we talked about, we need to go ahead and look at a little bit more granular level of planning. And this is often where we'll use Lucid's dynamic tables, our card integrations, and our capacity planning functionality to plan out these items across the sprints for the next quarter. You can see here on my screen that I brought in this work from a JQL query on the canvas, and then I've actually gone ahead and planned out where we might want to be doing each of these items. The view of dependencies makes it really easy to understand when an item might need to come after another item. And we get a quick view into where we might be over capacity. Teams have the flexibility to change these capacity numbers as well. For example, if in Q1, Sprint 2, we recognize a developer's out on PTO, or there's a holiday that might be going on, we can adjust our capacity accordingly, and allowing us to really make sure we're planning with all the information that we may need. Additionally, we can actually use Lucid scenario planning features, as we mentioned before, to enter draft mode in this process. And draft mode is one of my favorite features because as we are planning, we can make sure that we have the flexibility to plan out different plans in the process of planning, which allows us to have confidence and alignment before actually pushing back to Jira Azure DevOps. I know I've heard from a lot of teams that Jira or ADO is where their project management information stands and is kept. And so they don't want to push something back until they're ready. And so now we can actually go through and do this planning without fear of messing anything up in that system of record. With scenario planning, we can also do a few other things. And the power of all this together allows our teams to collaborate during this planning process and get real-time feedback on how our planned work is shaping up relative to our capacity.
This is great, and I know it has so much value for our customers. Haggerty, one of our very first customers to utilize the Agility Accelerator, was so excited because capacity planning would allow them to visually show their leaders and other stakeholders why they couldn't take on more work. That data-backed visual allowed them to show that it wasn't that they didn't want to, it's that they actively could not.
Yeah, and we've all been there, Bryn. Like, it's no surprise to anyone when teams are busy and leadership adds more to their workload. But now teams actually have the flexibility to show leaders exactly where they're at with capacity, which changes this conversation from we're busy to a collaborative game plan on which trade-offs make sense. Ultimately, the stakeholders benefit from this as they can see where teams are at full capacity and why. They can also see that the teams are working on, the most important information and the most important initiatives throughout the business.
Exactly. So it helps everyone understand why new stories might push off other work, leading to that snowplow effect where work just continues to build up and build up and build up. We've heard leaders tell us that being able to see that a team is at or close to capacity many sprints down the road is actually a clear indication that delivery is likely going to be delayed.
Exactly. And it's not always the case, but we recognize that bugs are going to be found. Scope usually grows. It doesn't shrink. And if they're already at capacity 2 sprints down the road, by the time we get there, they'll certainly be over. And so seeing this type of information early gives leaders and teams the opportunity to work together and get ahead of risks. It really enhances our planning, processes to make sure that we're considering everything we need to as we're considering deadlines or different things that the business may need. Essentially, capacity planning helps teams to connect demand to delivery, automatically showing you what work needs to be done, which is the demand, to our abilities, our team's ability to actually deliver it. And when we couple these visualizations with the qualitative insights we looked at before, teams can share their confidence and flag risks through those insights. And also this gives leaders the early signal they need to adjust before delays hit.
And avoiding delays where we can is absolutely critical. So what about scenario planning? How have you seen that help teams?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but scenario planning is super, super powerful as we're looking at doing this planning across the upcoming quarter or really any planning scenario that you may have. We recognize that oftentimes one plan is not enough. We need to consider alternative, scenarios where we might want to do things a little bit differently. And that's where Lucid scenario planning comes in. What I can do is I can go to one of these tables that I have here, and I can actually create a new scenario. Now, once this is on the canvas, changes here will not be reflected in the other, giving us the flexibility to create distinct versions of the same plan of work. Then I can take these scenarios, as a product manager or anybody else within the business, and go talk to my stakeholders and say, hey, here are the different things that we may be considering, and here's why. Let's make sure we talk through this and that we're all on the same page before we move forward. And once we are aligned and we want to move forward, we can exit this draft mode and push those changes into my system of record. This is super, super powerful.
So what you're saying basically is that scenario planning provides the data that backs up your strategic bets. I can see how it allows teams to commit to a plan, not just with hope, but with data-driven confidence that is actually achievable.
Exactly. So now teams and stakeholders have the qualitative data from the insights that we looked at and the quantitative data from these enhanced planning features such as capacity and scenario planning, which means they can increase the efficiency in their planning and how they work, as well as reducing the risk by getting these early signals.
This really is so cool. But before we wrap up, I'd love to take it back to the beginning. How does all of this tie back to the OKRs and roadmaps that we built out in airfocus?
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful question, because I think that's really key. We have these two different, products with Lucid and airfocus, and we want to figure out how does this all work together. Now, like we mentioned, the flexibility of planning, really can work well within Lucid. But once we're ready to actually start tracking progress and things like that, the structured format of airfocus provides a lot of value to our customers. We can see these different initiatives. We can see the progress of their child items, for example, on one view, and we can even see at the objective and company OKR level how the progress of these different initiatives is rolling up into one key view. And this is really a great way to see with our different integrations how everything stays up to date and how we can get a quick view of the health of these different initiatives, which essentially helps us to understand how our strategy is being translated into real accelerated development.
Amazing. So if we bring it all together, Lucid and airfocus catapult teams from vision to velocity. You ideate and nail down a vision at the program level in Lucid Spark, translate the vision into trackable OKRs in airfocus, and then build outcome-driven roadmaps in airfocus that escape the feature factory and deliver meaningful products. After all that, teams come back together in Lucid for data-backed planning that helps reduce risk and execute and build with confidence. You can create high performing teams that are aligned, empowered, and confident. This creates a virtuous cycle where you're not just building faster, you're building the right product with velocity. Thank you all for joining us today. We had a lot of fun in this session. If you have any remaining questions, please check out the Lucid community. Don't forget, we will also email the recording and additional resources soon. Have a great one.